Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Mainstream Mondays here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with my awesome co-host, John Ward. How you doing, John?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. John's of Dark Park Films, and he's here once again for another episode when we're doing our James Wan-A-Thon.
Yep.
And in order, we're doing Annabelle Comes Home next, which, by the way, is not on HBO Max anymore. So I had to actually rent it on YouTube, and I'm gonna have to rent Curse of La Llorona as well on YouTube because they just took those off in, I guess, January 1st. So I
Oh,
should have watched
wow.
them earlier, but did not realize they would do that. You know.
Well, this is what I
Um,
have to say to that. There we go. That's what I
all
have to
right,
say to that.
there you go. Um, And then next was so we have those, and Conjuring 2 and 3 are both on was it on HBO Max, thank God. But these two are not, and that kind of sucks. But you have the whole set, so pretty much, or in and
Yes. Oh,
whatnot.
yeah. I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, you don't have to
So,
worry about anything. But I do. So kind of mad about that, but what can you do? I'm just happy. I mean, I was able to watch it, and I started it last night, and then my internet went out. My Wi-Fi went out. So then this afternoon I finished it, and whatnot. And I watched maybe about close to an hour of it anyway. So it was, I was almost done, a little more than halfway done with the movie. It was an hour and 46 minutes, man.
all
Uh,
these movies are long. Like,
they're longer than they should be. Like, honestly, these movies should be 90 minutes, but Hollywood has kind of turned into the thing where they like to make long movies. If it's 2.5 hours long, people, and I don't know why people think that, because like I really don't like sitting in the theater for 2.5 hours, because like you're sitting there, you can't really do anything. Then if you have to go to the bathroom, like you're gonna miss something,
well, that's
like
why I buy a large soda. I drink the soda and then I pee into the container when I'm done. So I
like
just sit
during
there
the
in,
movie.
yeah. I just whip it out and I just pee right into the cup. And then, the people around me are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm peeing into a cup. I don't want to miss the movie. And then I take the top and I just put it on the top of the container and set it down.
And then you give it for somebody to drink, right?
Well, yeah, because they're just like, wow, what is that? I said, well, it's lemonade.
Oh, I would have thought you would say like Sprite or something, but
Well,
lemonade. But
I do let them know that there's a bit of weighing in it, but otherwise it tastes good. So,
yeah.
but that's why I don't want to go see Avatar and stuff. Avatar 2. It's just too freaking long. I'll just
I
wait.
know. Like, I mean, I'll
Especially
wait
with all
for.
that water.
Oh yeah, that's gonna make you want to pee a lot. Honestly, I'd rather watch it in the privacy of my own home, where I don't have people. Like, honestly, my favorite parts are if I go to the theater and like I'm the only one there. I'm like, like I'm in my own homes. It's just a bigger stereo, or whatever, bigger
And if there's
TV.
nobody there, you could just pee directly onto the floor.
That's true. Well, I don't want to, just because that's stinky, and I really don't want to be like around stink while I'm there. I'm gonna try to get
Well, you
away
just
from
move
stink.
seats.
That's true. I'd
Yeah.
do it in the
There's
front,
ways.
then I'd go in the back and
There's ways
binge
around
watch a
it.
movie. Play musical chairs. Anyway,
But luckily, we don't have to see any of these movies in the theater.
yeah, we can see them in the privacy of our own home,
Yeah.
and that's what I did. I watched it. I've got I think I told you and I showed you, but I got a new TV
Yes.
in my room, and that I'm here now in my room, by the way. I usually do things, I've been doing it down the kitchen, but for some reason my internet's been doing pretty good up here lately, so I'm like, let's not ruin a good thing. So I've been doing it here, but was watching it in my room, like, laying in my bed, which generally isn't a good idea at night because I get tired, you know. But this movie did not bore me at all, so it didn't tire me. I like I was intrigued. I want to know. 'Cause I'd seen it before, but I hadn't didn't remember a lot. I do remember the girl going downstairs, and then I do remember you telling me before that you remember her touching everything and getting really upset. So when I saw it, her just touching everything, I was like,
I
God,
just I still don't, and I know I bitched on the last couple of videos about this. I just don't understand people touching stuff. I just don't. Leave things alone. And it has nothing to do with evil spirits or whatever it is. It's just, if I walked into your house and started touching everything, oh, look at this vase, oh, look at this picture, oh, look at this, and then you're
yeah,
like,
like she
John, but
starts using the bell. First thing she does
yeah,
is,
the
and then
first
she's
thing
like, "Is this
her,
a spirit bell?"
yeah, and she's not doing it like, like ding ding ding. She's going like it's a bell for cows or something. And it's just like, put it down. What do you? And then when she goes into Danielle, or whatever her name is, when she
Daniela,
goes, yeah, Danielle, when she goes into the
Daniela.
actual, like, Warren's relic room, she is literally touching everything. She has to open
Uh,
shit and take it out and look at it, and
she's my
and
favorite
it's,
character, by the way. I loved her. Like
oh my god, I hated her
I loved her.
because,
I adored her. I thought, oh
no,
man,
I think she's a horrible
in
person.
high school she would have been my crush. I'm sorry.
uh I mean, all she had to do was ask the Warrens. That's all she had to do.
Yeah, even
I
at the
mean,
end, we kind of find that out that like the Warrens even talked to her dad. So like literally,
allegedly. I mean,
well,
allegedly.
I
I mean,
think
they could be full and just be like, oh crap, what am I going to tell this girl? Oh yeah, your dad loves you. Yeah, he says move on. It's like, oh, get her out of
I
the
know,
house.
but like I really believed it because
No,
um
I know that she did, but I just thought, I don't know if I would take that at face value. I mean,
I
it's just
would
like,
have.
oh,
I
by
would
the
have
way,
just
I
because
talked to
I
your
think like,
dad.
well, especially her, she was looking for that. She wanted that. That was
But
all
then
she
just go in
wanted.
and ask. I mean, it's like, and it's straight from the beginning. When she holds up the newspaper, how could you not tell me what the Warrens do for a living? And and the babysitter's like, well, I didn't tell you what the Smiths did for a living, whatever the other people
Mm.
are. And it's like, now she's got this plan, and it's basically just to get into the house. I don't think that she knows what's in the house, so she probably doesn't know that there is this relic room. But it's like, she's just a sneak. I mean, she's a little scumbag. I mean, I wouldn't let her in. I'd like, get her out of the party. I mean, she brings the friggin' roller skates for one reason. When it's the little girl's birthday party, she brings it to get them out of the house.
Yeah, she
She
used it so
doesn't.
that she could go snoop around. And then there's even like a talk about that. Like, of course she was planning to snoop.
It's in the deleted scenes. We see the babysitter and the daughter's on the skates outside, and she sees in the distance, like, they're playing like hockey or something, and it's the kid that bullies her, and she doesn't want to go any further because she doesn't want to deal with him. So they stop, and the little girl, the daughter, asks, do you think she came over because of my parents? And of course, the babysitter's like, no, no, I don't think so. And the daughter's like, I think so, because she saw it in the paper.
Right.
So like, she had this whole agenda this entire time, and it's just like, this is no good with her. I mean, it's, I don't know, man. The Warrens are pretty, they're pretty forgiving, especially for getting Annabelle out.
I mean, so yeah, they're very forgiving and um what I think well, I guess we'll get into that. We'll get into that 'cause that's more
Well,
towards the end of the
at the
movie.
beginning. So I want to get your take on the beginning. So once again, we now have the fourth time we see the nurses,
Which
and
did you watch that video I sent you with the like the cinema sins and stuff?
I
Like,
did watch that. Yeah,
and
some of it I did think of. Yeah, before I watched
yeah,
it.
and
Yeah,
it was exactly what I think we've talked about before, where you're like, this is like the nurses and like the nurses, like we never got a full story of them, yet, or whatever.
yeah, and
We've
Cinema
only
Sins
gotten
even
a little
says
bit.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
And
which
and, and
is
I
true.
think it's very obvious that the one nurse with the black hair is wearing a wig. I think
Well,
because
was it not the same nurses? Because that boy looked different than he did
I think
before, I
the
think.
guy is different, but the two women might have been the same. I
Okay.
think, but it was so short. I think it was just to. And the thing that annoys me about that is, so the Warrens take the doll. They sit there basically say you're an idiot for letting this spirit, like into the doll, and it's totally evil. They take the doll and they just set it in the back seat of the car, and it's sitting upright, like right in the middle. And it's like, wait a minute, you just told them how evil this freaking thing
Like
is.
put it in the fucking trunk or something.
In
Like
the trunk, throw it in a box, tie it to the roof. You
like
you you
the
know,
only thing that they said was like you couldn't set it on fire or anything because it would just
yeah. Then
it's
it
just an
just the
entity, it would just go somewhere else,
yeah.
or whatever, just leave the doll. So you have to keep it in the doll for as long as possible, just not give it a soul. But they did give it a soul in Annabelle, right? Like a lady said, that black lady was like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be the soul, and then she jumped down and killed herself, right? So I guess he couldn't or she couldn't enter the entity couldn't enter into the doll, but he got the soul. I don't know. Like
I
I'm
think
still
that
confused about that.
I'm not even sure if you have to hold Annabelle while jumping. This is from Annabelle, the movie Annabelle. It is for people who don't know what we're talking about, but it's I don't know if you have to hold the doll. There's nothing there that says you have to hold the doll when you jump. It just wants a soul.
Well, I thought the whole point of jumping was so that she would die, like it was killing herself, right?
Well,
She,
the mother was going to, and then yeah, the black woman, and then when she jumps, then the demon would get the soul. But I don't think it really had anything to do with Annabelle. Like the soul wouldn't go into Annabelle, just the demon would get the soul.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's and that's what kind of I'm thinking, like, especially when this movie came out originally. Like we've already had a few films up to there, so we know the Warrens. Why would the Warrens just put the doll in the back seat? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like,
I
what?
I don't know either.
It's
It
so casual. And then the car, of course, breaks down at a foggy cemetery, which I would be a little suspicious about. And then, Ed gets out of the car and pops open the hood.
well, he doesn't recognize the cemetery at first. She does later when she starts looking, and then she notices the fog lifts, and you see it's a cemetery, and she's like, "Oh, crap," you know.
Oh, okay.
So
I figured that they all saw the
I
cemetery
don't
because
think they
it's
all saw
the
the
fog was
cemetery.
only on the ground. I mean, it wasn't like surrounding them.
Oh, the first one didn't at one point it had like the fog was big at one point, you
When
know.
he got pushed into the road by one of the
Yeah, I
ghosts,
think I
and
think
the
it
truck
does
almost
come
hit him.
and go with the fog a little bit.
Yeah, and then that's, of course, Lorraine is like, it's the doll can like reach out to other things.
It's a
And
beacon of spirits.
yeah, and then this is what cracks me up is they get there, the priest is already there. They put Annabelle into the rocking chair, which is funny, is for some reason ghosts are always in a rocking chair. And
Well,
then
Annabelle's always in a rocking chair,
she's
right?
yeah, yes. And but it's also the number one thing that's always, if it's a chair, for some reason in all ghost movies, the ghost always has to be in like a rocking chair. But
Chairs are kind of creepy. I'm not gonna
I know
lie.
they just kind of
Just back
creaking
and
back and
forth.
forth. And then the priest does the blessing on it. And Lorraine's like, well, this is like really bad. So then Ed goes, okay, we need something else. Hey, how about that glass window or whatever it is that we got from that church before it got demolished? Okay, good enough. Okay, fine. But it was already built as a box, because right when he goes, what about that glass? It cuts to them putting Annabelle in the glass box. So if you have this pane of glass, you have to cut the glass to make it four sides and then a top and a bottom. You then have to put a frame on it. You then have to secure the frame. You then have to drill a hole to put the key in, for the lock. They have to find the chair to put Annabelle in, and the priest is standing right there.
Mm-hmm.
How? What did this take? 5 minutes or maybe 10 hours? Like,
Sure.
why is it already there? Now, if he'd sat there and said, hey, what about that canister that we got, that glass canister? Okay, all right, fine, it's already made.
Right.
But it wasn't made. He said it was a window.
I
So
don't know.
now maybe if they didn't have the priest there, because he serves no purpose after doing the blessing, don't have him there, and then you could see Ed be like, wow, okay, we made the glass container, let's put her in it. And then you could think,
Do we
oh,
really
okay,
need
this
to
is
see all of that though? Like, I
no,
think
but
they want to
I
skip the
noticed
stuff
it
that's sort of
this
boring.
right, but you don't have to see them build it, but you could cut to him saying, or cut from him saying, what about the glass from that church? Cut to it already built, there's no priest, and he goes, okay, all right, we're done, let's get Annabelle in there. And okay, maybe the priest isn't there, maybe this took like 5 hours, because do they even have the tools to cut glass?
I don't.
I mean, that really annoyed me when I was watching it. Like, okay,
I
I
know.
mean,
I know. You're thinking. I think you're thinking too much about it. Like,
I don't know. It's like, do you know how long it? Have you ever built a shelving cabinet from like
no.
IKEA or Walmart? I mean, shit, I had to build the ones behind me. That takes like a couple hours just to build this shit, and they give you
Yeah.
all this stuff to build it. He's building that thing from scratch. So I don't know. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it.
There you go. I don't know. That's crazy. I have no idea. Like, uh, I don't know if they made it or if they got somebody to make it and they've had Annabelle for because they just cut to later. Like you have no idea how long.
Yeah, like it's 10
It's
minutes later or something, and
Yeah,
it's
but it
already
doesn't
built.
say 10 minutes later. So you have no idea how long it's taken before they actually made the thing. I don't know. But anywho, then they make it. They put it up. They put a sign up there, say positively do not open. Which I thought was kind
Fucking
of funny.
dummy who goes down there, stupid teenager who goes down there and what have you done to get in there? Well, let's just unlock it and find out. We'll
Let's just
just
unlock it and set the evil free. Well, actually, she doesn't unlock it at first, though.
well,
She
yeah,
doesn't
the Annabelle falls against the
falls
door.
over, and so I'm like thinking, okay, sorry, but the doll falls over, and I guess she just might have been a little scared that like people would have found out that she was there, you know. So she wanted to push the doll up, or whatever, and everything, so it doesn't look like she was actually at that place or whatever in the place she's not supposed to be. But yeah, she freaking opens it up and lets that fucking thing basically free. Because
I don't believe in any of this stuff as I've made clear before, but I wouldn't want to hold Annabelle, and I don't care if people said it was possessed and all that stuff. It's just an ugly doll. I get now that when we see Annabelle, we know, or that face, we know exactly where it's from. Kind of like in Saw, where they have like the little doll that comes out on the
the jigs
tricycle.
but it's not Jigsaw, is it? Is that Jigsaw?
I
Is
don't know, the
Jigsaw the doll or is Jigsaw like
Jigsaw's the person.
the person? Okay.
But
I don't know.
that when you see that face with the swirls on it and all that,
Mhm.
it's from Saw. So it's like, okay, well, we know this is Annabelle, so I understand what they're doing. But if I don't, I wouldn't want to hold that doll or play with that doll
Mm-mm.
or whatever it is. It's just an ugly doll. It's
It's
not,
ugly.
yeah, it's not something that I can't imagine little girls or collectors wanting.
Yeah.
It's just an ugly doll. And did you catch the real Annabelle
Yeah.
cameo?
That was cute.
The giant Annabelle.
I know. And then the TV turned off like I almost felt like that was the movie saying, like, here's our little thing, but you know what? Screw you guys. We're gonna get rid of it real quick, just because this is our movie. This is our Annabelle, not the
Yeah,
Raggedy
yeah,
Annabelle.
people, yeah, if anybody ends up watching Annabelle, comes home, then yeah, keep your eye out for the dating show.
Yeah,
And then you'll spot a giant Raggedy Ann doll in there.
I'm calling her
So
Raggedy Annabelle.
Raggedy, oh, that okay, works. That works. Raggedy
Works
Annabelle.
works for it. So yeah, so we'll go back to some more. So they lock up Annabelle in the glass case. They go back. Uh they're talking to the girl McKenna Grace, who you may know from a little movie called Ghostbusters Afterlife, which she was in a ton of stuff. She's been like a lot and a lot of horror, weirdly enough. But McKenna Grace, and I just watched an interview with her with like a podcast called Yes Have Some, which are Ghostbusters fanatics and stuff. And she was so freaking sweet. I mean, I was just like, oh, like okay, I get like her personalities generally in movies and everything are generally sweet, nice, kids, what I mean? And she comes off like that in real life. So I really liked watching it. And then they're talking about her birthday because she's Judy, Judy Warren, the daughter of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And did you see some of the other articles I sent you? Like I sent you one.
Yeah, that requires reading. So, and I'm at work, so I can't really do that. The video was easy for me to watch because I could just pause it. But on the Blu-ray for it, there is an interview with the
The
daughter.
real Judy.
Yeah, like a 5 minute interview with her. Yeah.
But like none of this happened. No little like no babysitter. I don't think she had a babysitter because I think most of it was her mom or her grandma who babysat her, which we saw in The Conjuring. The grandma was
Yeah.
watching her most of the time. So I think that's what mostly happened. But they needed another Annabelle movie, and they needed something to be interesting because I guess they couldn't pay for Ed and Lorraine to come out for another, or but whatever, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga to come out for a whole movie, right?
Well, in the making of it was basically they just wanted them in it as the bookends. That's
Right.
it. They didn't what they wanted Annabelle to be its own thing, but the Warrens to be kind of bookends because people, like that. And
Why didn't they do the
so,
nurses?
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
I mean that
and
would have
then
been an
at the
interesting
end.
story.
So it's well, did you also notice that the knocking at the door and the babysitter answers it and there's the little girl outside?
Hmm.
That's the same little girl from Creation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they did that, so that was good. They
So
actually
they
did
try
some.
to keep in that continuity, which I think we're going to start seeing because all these are kind of when they started establishing the universe is this movie. Like, it was this movie after Annabelle Creation, so Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home. These movies were sort of by each other. And they were starting to go, okay, well, now we got to keep in continuity of the rest of the movie, of the series. And I think they started, I'm guessing we're going to start seeing a lot more like better continuity, to it. You know, understandable stuff.
Well, our next one, the only continuity on it is the priest.
Yeah.
But that's it.
The other, yeah, that then
Yeah, and he
there's no
mentions the
edit of
doll.
Lorraine. There's no even
No,
Mick.
no, nothing. No. He
Yeah.
just mentions Annabelle and that's it. He may not, I don't even think he mentions her by name. He just goes a
Yeah.
doll,
Just
like
as
a
a
possessed
doll.
doll. Yeah.
This doll. So
So
which is funny because this almost doesn't even feel like the Conjuring universe. It feels like the Annabelle universe, for a lot of what we've seen so far, mainly Annabelle.
yeah, three Annabelle and three Conjuring. So,
And the first Conjuring had Annabelle, and started off with Annabelle. So I think they do that a lot with. I mean, because Annabelle is sort of their first spin-off thing, and it's one that I don't. I have this feeling the Nun may do well, but it won't do enough where they'll be like, let's do a Nun 3. You know what I mean? So
I mean, we'll see. Horror's got to, doing pretty well these days. So
yeah, horror like people are, especially because I think that movie comes out in October, September, fall, time, and that's really when horror does really well, because it's that time, like that's the time of year that people kind of designate horror stuff when they're not horror lovers like we are. We watch we watch this stuff every day. Some people aren't like us, and they watch it. They'll be like, well, they have seasons, and the spooky season starts in September, you know. So I
yeah.
would love to. I'm interested in seeing it. None too. I would love for them to get to a point where they start doing more than one a year. At least two a year. To kind of you know.
Well, I
Um,
mean, it's not connected to Conjuring universe, but I mean, we are going to get the Insidious. I mean, that's already done.
yeah.
That's filmed and ready to go. So we got that. We got Nun 2, and then they just announced Conjuring 4.
By the way,
So
here's an interesting thing. So I told you I rented it from YouTube, right? And you know how YouTube has the like, more titles like this kind of thing, like suggestions for things to do. There was one movie that the guys who wrote The Conjuring did that produced by the people who did Conjuring as well. James Wan did not produce it though, so we can't do it for this James Wan-A-Thon. But maybe later down the road we'll go to it. It's called The Crucified. You heard of that?
oh, no. I mean, this. Let's see. The director of Annabelle Comes Home is the writer. So let's.
No, it's The Crucifixion. I'm sorry, Crucifixion, and it's directed by Xavier Jen, who looks like uh he was one of the writers of AB or one of the directors of ABC The Death. Interesting. He did a movie called The Divide. He did the Hitman movie back in the day, back in 2007. Um Cold Skin. He did a couple episodes of Gangs of London. So guessing he might be a British director or something. But anyway, he did The Crucifixion, which the guys who wrote The Conjuring wrote, and the producers of The Conjuring produced. By the way, did you notice that this movie was produced by Peter Safran? Like, I think all of the Conjuring movies are produced by him, and he's
Yeah,
now like the
he's
co runner of DC films. So I don't know if he'll still be coming to The Conjuring and also doing The Conjuring as well, or if he's kind of leaving the Conjuring universe to just do DC films,
I'd
DC
stick
Studios.
stick with Conjuring.
Yeah, you would, yeah. But I think the thing that makes more money is the DC movies. Maybe. We'll see
Black
how
Adam bombed.
that did bomb, but I think they still made more money than I don't know. I don't know how much it made, but yeah, you're right. These have been successes because they're so low in budget, you know.
Well,
Um,
so speaking of, so let's look at my thing that I like to do here. So Annabelle Comes Home. Its budget is somewhere between 27 to 32 million. And the film made let's see, 231.1 million.
that's still lower than no, that's still a success, right? But it's still lower than like the last ones that we've heard. Like some of those made like 300 million.
Well,
So
that's yeah, it's probably why we didn't get a fourth. So let's see. So
yeah,
Annabelle was 257.6 million on a 6.5 million budget. And then Annabelle Creation, that okay, this is the one that made money. So it's $15 million budget on 306.5 million.
Hmm.
And then Annabelle Comes Home is, yeah, it's 231.3 million.
Yeah. So it did
And it's
not
got
do
the
as
highest
well,
budget too.
but it's still, I mean, it's still, you can't say that that's not a success, and everything, because it's still, did way more than its budget of, like, it made a profit, but
I
it
mean,
just didn't make as much as the other ones did.
but the small budget for the original Annabelle was more or less in like a couple locations and a very small cast. The Annabelle creation is 15 million. So what cost 27 to 32 million in Annabelle Comes Home when it pretty much takes place in a house?
Yeah, it takes place in a house. I mean, I guess, I mean, a lot of it was a lot of those artifacts, a lot of those, uh, whatever they're called, the things, that the evil entities that exist in that thing. Which in this movie we do get a werewolf. That was
Well,
weird.
which I thought was funny is, well, we keep focusing on like a file that says Hellhound, but they call it a werewolf, but yet Ed says they don't believe in vampires.
Yeah.
So you believe in werewolves, but you don't believe in vampires?
Well, we call it. They call it. Bob calls it a werewolf, right, or whatever. You know. They all call it that because that's what I guess it looked like. But it was just a wolf, thing. It might be the hellhound.
Well, I mean, with the behind the scenes and everything, they call it a werewolf. They keep calling it a werewolf throughout they break down some of the people in this, like the bride. We get to see some of the other, like the demon. They break
Mm-hmm.
that down and show you how they make it. And then the werewolf is one, and they call it the werewolf throughout the
Well,
whole behind the scenes. But yet
well,
you don't believe in a vampire. Okay.
yeah, to believe
I
in
mean,
vampires. I wonder if zombies are real to them. Ghosts are real. You know, can zombies
maybe
be real? I don't know.
maybe the voodoo zombies from
Yeah,
like the
well,
30s,
there,
like
yeah,
those
there are
type.
a lot of talks of what, like, was a what's that Wes Craven movie?
Yeah,
Serpent
the
in the
serpent and the
Rainbow.
rainbow, it's based off of a true story. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's based on zombie stuff like that they did in Haiti, I want to say.
yeah, and it's chemicals. It's like acid and mushrooms and
I think that's kind of the creepier kind of movies, that are sort of based on people's real beliefs that this stuff can happen, maybe, and it's also sort of science like, it's not just supernatural. So it's, I don't know, that kind of stuff creeps me out. Also, weirdly enough, what creeps me out, and I've found this out through watching these movies, is I really don't like when people ring doorbells and stuff, because
they're
in
very
a
loud.
way, what,
They're very loud.
I know that thing. I mean, it kind of shakes you a little bit, like you're up. But most of the time, it's because I think to myself, if somebody rang my doorbell, right, and then started knocking like that, I probably would not want to answer it. Like, even if it was, even if I didn't believe it was a ghost, or whatever, I would be like, that sounded wrong. Like, I don't,
Hey, I've
I,
seen The Strangers. I wouldn't open
yeah,
up a door.
like, I don't open up, like, you don't. So yeah, it was creepy, like that scene with it ringing the doorbell, and then she goes to look out, and she can't see who it is, so she thinks like they left or whatever, and then the little girl talks, and it's like, can Annabelle come out and play?
Yeah, the girl from Annabelle Creation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so creepy. That scene and stuff too, and she's all giggling and everything, and oh man, it was rough and scary. I thought she was gonna go after the girl, like the Judy, like, do you know an Annabelle, that's around here, or something like that. Because if she had said that, then the movie would have taken a different turn, because Judy would be like, Wait, what are you talking about? Annabelle? Like, how do you
I
know
think
that
Judy
name?
knows who. Yeah, she
Yeah, she
definitely
knows
knows
who
who Annabelle
Annabelle is.
is.
She would have been like freaked out. By the way, she
Well,
slept with Annabelle, and that, whew, I don't know. I wrote on Twitter. I posted a thing on Twitter saying, for I tagged McKenna Grace in it, which, by the way, her Twitter handle is McKenna Graceful. And I said, geez, McKenna Graceful had to sleep next to Annabelle and Annabelle Comes Home. Poor girl, that had to be creepy, you know. I mean, I wouldn't want to sleep next to that thing.
no, it's just an ugly doll.
Yeah.
You know, I would. I mean, if I found a cheap one, I would probably buy it just as a collector's item. But you
Yeah,
know,
you would you put in a glass case? Oh my God, that would be so
maybe if I
funny.
could. Well, I would have to be small. I wouldn't want the full size. I want a
Right.
small one that I could like set on a, set on like a shelf with all my movies, like right next to the
Like
Conjuring
Annabelle on a
movies.
shelf.
Yes, yeah, like that size. Yeah, I think that that would be good. So, okay, well, actually, here's the question for you. So the the friend, first of all, how nice is that babysitter?
She's a
Like,
sweetheart.
she's like the greatest babysitter ever.
Yeah.
She doesn't yell at the girl. She doesn't do anything. She's like the nicest babysitter ever.
Well,
So
but
I like that.
also Judy is the sweetest kid in the world, which, you know what I mean? Like she doesn't do anything to make the girl yell at
Right.
her or anything. So like it sort of works that she's got a great babysitter because she's also a great kid, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the babysitter could be like, go to your room, I have a boy coming over, but instead
Oh,
she
no.
shoos Bob away. So, but my question is, so if the friend, she holds up the newspaper article, obviously doesn't know what the Warrens do. And then when they're looking through all the stuff in the office, she sure seems to know what she's talking about. I mean,
Like,
she's looking at like three different things and she calls them cases. And she's like, oh yeah, that's when the Warrens, that was the Warrens case of this. And it's like,
oh.
wait a minute. I thought you
Is that a
didn't know what the
continuity
Warrens,
issue? Is
huh?
that a continuity issue, maybe? Like,
Maybe. I mean, it kind of makes it sound like and maybe you wouldn't catch it just on like a single viewing, but since this is my third, it was just like, wait, why is she calling them cases? Like she did when she was down in the artifact room by herself, she did see that book that was about it's right here, Black Shuck. And she kind of looks through that book and like something drops out of it and she puts it back in. But then when they're back up in the office, she goes, oh, that's the case of the Black Shuck. And like she knows like what the file is.
hmm, okay.
And it's like, wait, but how would she wouldn't know any of this?
Hmm. Um, okay, so I'm gonna look at a couple. I've got a couple goofs and stuff. Um, so let's see. There's something I just read. Okay. Annabelle Comes Home takes place in 1968. The Warrens remove her from her nurse's house after interviewing them. Yet we see Rory's music box from The Conjuring present in the artifact room, despite The Conjuring taking place 3 years later. But according to your time, it takes place, you know, whatever, right? Like, did so was there a time jump when after they get Annabelle and bring her home, bring that home to Annabelle Comes Home?
No, they're wrong about that because this is The Conjuring is 1971, Annabelle Comes Home is 1972.
But I'm wondering if like the beginning of the movie, when Annabelle is put in the glass case, if that's actually a different, if that was like 1 year earlier, and then there's like 1 year later. You know what I mean? Like we never get that. We never get like it saying that, but I think it's supposed to because It's The Conjuring. Remember, there was that in The Conjuring. There's this scene with Judy seeing Annabelle outside the house and stuff, outside the, like Annabelle was coming after her. Remember, or whatever she thought. I think it was the ghost of the thing, but it was using Annabelle, right? The
Yeah,
evil
the
spirit
the demon was sitting in the
chair
rocking
with
chair
with
holding
Annabelle.
Annabelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she said
So
somebody's in the room holding Annabelle.
right. So I think that was I guess a year earlier, when they got the case, when they got Annabelle. See, 'cause something
So
doesn't seem right.
is there a massive continuity error in dates?
And so I'm wondering because if I'm wondering if there just was not a 1 year later like sign, like saying, because I believe, if I'm right about this, and I could be wrong, but when they bring Annabelle home and put her in the glass case, and then they cut to the birthday stuff, the talking about the birthday, I feel like that's a year later, you know, because they're talking about they're going on a trip to they're gonna go on a road trip to whatever they're gonna, the next case that they're doing
I
that
think
night.
it does say like 1 year later or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's 1 year later. So I think they are right because I think maybe when if it's at first when we see the Conjuring thing, like they might have put that in the artifact room because they had it, but it wasn't, it was wrong. I don't.
So does that mean that the very beginning of Annabelle Comes Home would be before The Conjuring? And then the 1972 stuff is with the babysitter and the friend, and
Yeah,
is that what
uh,
you're thinking?
that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I don't know. It's really
That's probably why they
confusing.
had to put the 1 year later in there.
Yeah, so they probably put. I think they put that 1 year later, but I don't remember that
I
specifically.
think it was in there. I think that there was, because they lock Annabelle up and then they leave. Like Ed says, is do you feel anything? Is it gone? Is like the evil gone? And Lorraine's like, yes, we're good. It's gone.
Right.
And then you see them leave, and I think it does say, yeah, like 1 year later, and then that cuts
The
to.
evil is contained. That's what she says. Because later, I think at the end of the movie, doesn't the girl say the evil is contained or something? You know, like I remember that line twice, I think. Something, I don't know. Anyway, it's a little confusing. I don't know. Um,
So
but
this doesn't work as well as I thought I did, as like I thought it did.
I wanted it to too because the problem is when you're doing this stuff, you got to be careful. You can't, especially when you're working with dates. You've got to make sure that the dates line up exactly, exactly right. You know,
Well,
and
and that's the problem with technology today, is that, so if you went and watched back in like the 30s the Universal monster movies, and you're watching like the Frankenstein films, and in one, actually I'll use a better example, The Devil Bat with Bela Lugosi. He has his lab that's in his attic where he creates the giant bats that go out and kill everybody, and it's down a hall and through a bookcase, and he goes up some stairs, and it's definitely in an attic. But then
mhm,
a few years later they made The Devil Bat's Daughter, where
right.
they go into a completely different house. They walk downstairs into what looks like a basement. And they're like, oh, yeah, this was your father's lab. Now, obviously, this is the 30s, 30s or 40s. And you wouldn't remember that.
Hmm.
You would think, oh, okay, you wouldn't think anything of it, that there's this issue, like this continuity issue.
Hmm.
But and you could say the same thing with the Universal monster films. If the Frankenstein monster went into quicksand, does it match to the next Frankenstein movie? Where do they find him in quicksand?
Right.
But today we can access this stuff so easy to
Mm-hmm.
see if stuff matches. That, like what you said, you got to be really careful with dates and
Exactly.
just continuity and all this type of stuff, because it's, because I didn't even think about that that
Mm-mm.
that this that 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 beginning with Annabelle in the case took place before The Conjuring. I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is just they bring Annabelle home. It's 1 year later, and then it's like we're coming up on the kid's birthday. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're correct. I think so. If you were to make one giant timeline, you would have to take that little bit out and put it before The Conjuring.
Yep. So if we
And
were to watch it in actual order, we would have to watch like we would have had to watch the we would have to watch this before the Conjuring, like that part before the Conjuring, then watch the Conjuring, then come back to Annabelle Comes Home after the
yeah,
Conjuring. Like, so fucking confusing. Because I mean, and that's what happens when they take things out of order or try to do a flashback or whatever, because I guess considering this would be a flashback, or whatever, So like what happened before, with the nurses and stuff. And but that also makes me wonder about the the nurses. So that's why I still have this theory that the nurses tell their story. The Ed and Lorraine go home. They bring the doll there. They put the doll in the glass case. Then they get the Conjuring story like right after that, right? You know, so they get the Conjuring. We get the movie The Conjuring. That all happens. Annabelle is dealing with Judy, all this stuff. Then for some reason, they want to let a babysitter take care of Judy 1 year later. Like, like I would not want to leave my child
that's what I'm saying. They're
alone.
like the most trusting and forgiving people. So
They're
it's like,
also like, yeah, they're also like the sort of the dumbest parents because they're what they should do is if they're gonna leave for like I think was it a day because they were back the next day, right? Next morning, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, it all takes place in like one day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1 day, right? So all of this happened all one night, by the way. Like, oh, we trusted you to be with this babysitter, and then all of this happened this one night, right?
Well, she might have been the babysitter maybe for 5 years. It's only
Well,
until the friend goes, "You didn't tell me what they did for a living," that now everything gets messed up. That the
right.
babysitter probably never brought boys over. She probably just did homework. She wasn't doing drugs or alcohol. She was playing with the kid. So they're thinking, "Oh, okay, she's fine. She's never tried to get into the
Yeah,
room."
but like I would still want her like I would have I don't know how much money that they had or whatever, but I would have, said, okay, look, we're gonna put you in a motel for the night,
Oh,
or a hotel for the night. You guys can stay there, you guys can have fun, goof off, but you're not getting anywhere near where evil is, even though they have it locked up, yet they have the fucking key in the room. Why don't they have the key? Oh,
right
because
behind a picture of Jesus.
yeah, yeah, she's like
Why would you
praying
leave
or
those
whatever, and
keys
then
right there? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And she's like, yeah, don't judge me. And she takes it down. Well, now to go back to the timeline for a second. So I'm looking at this. So we would have, so it's the nun, then Annabelle creation, then Annabelle. Now we haven't even come across technically the Warrens yet.
right.
Then it would be the nurses from the beginning of Annabelle Goes Home or Comes Home. And then the Conjuring takes place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the Warrens have nothing to do with the nun. The Warrens have nothing to do with Annabelle creation. The Warrens have nothing to do with Annabelle. And they only have something to do with the two nurses.
That's why I was saying this is almost like the Annabelle universe, and the Wardens just happen to, to exist in it. You know what I mean? Like they call it the Conjuring universe because Conjuring was the first one to get made, and make. a lot of money. But really, it became the Annabelle, thing from the very start, because the very start of The Conjuring wasn't about the Conjuring stuff. It was about Annabelle, you know. We just happened to also get the other stories, the demon lady or whatever,
So I wonder if they didn't make Conjuring, if they made Annabelle first. Like Annabelle was the first one. Would it maybe or maybe not been a hit? And if it
Oh,
was a hit, would it be the Annabelle universe?
I don't think it would have been a big hit. And my theory on that would have been because we wouldn't know who that fucking doll is, you know, and nobody probably at that time was as interested in seeing a killer doll movie until we met Annabelle in Conjuring. They were very smart because having Annabelle as like a side story, you know, introduce it's what Marvel does, it's what DC does, where they introduce a character in one of the movies. The Mummy tried to do it with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They just did it poorly because like Mr. Hyde never, I mean, I don't even think he hide it out, like there was no
Are
fun
you talking
stuff
about
with
the
him.
the Tom
The
Cruise
Mummy,
mummy?
the Tom Cruise Mummy one.
He does at the end because he's got the big fight with Tom Cruise,
Okay.
but
I don't
it's
remember.
or the mummy, but it was just not done well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was.
But this was done well because what it did was it introduced a character that if people would be familiar with if they were fan of the Warrens, right? If they like the Warren stuff. And people who weren't familiar with the Warrens watch it and they go, this is really cool. Like I like this doll. It's really creepy and James
I
Wan
like your
designed it.
doll.
James Wan
Yeah,
designed it, and I think that is neat. That he was the basis for the creation of it looking the way it did because he could have just had it be a Raggedy Ann doll, but like and that would still be creepy. I mean, those look creepy. And I don't think it was a rights issue because I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers had the money, to get the rights to Raggedy Ann.
yeah. I think they
Um,
just wanted to do their own thing.
yeah, they wanted it to look like a different thing and also look it have its own thing where people would go, I like you said, you want an Annabelle doll, right? Just to have in your collection. You know, that's them. That's their marketing
I
strategy.
I even thought of buying like a Raggedy Ann doll and calling it the Annabelle doll. Not calling it
Yeah.
Raggedy Ann, but calling it and just putting it up on a shelf. So it's
Those are probably way more expensive than they should be.
probably so it's
Yeah.
yeah
But
and it's yeah. I'm surprised that we don't get another Annabelle, but I don't really know where they could take it. Annabelle in space, maybe.
no, no, no. I Annabelle in the Hood. Um,
Oh, great, yeah,
no.
that's better.
Justin Ferguson can direct it.
Annabelle in the hood. It's got to
The
be
Hood.
in the hood.
No, and it'd be directed by a white guy who,
And it would be Annabelle, the letter N, the hood.
no,
Hoods in
anyway,
the hoods with a Z at
yeah,
the end.
the hoods.
And
Oh Lord. Anyway, what was I gonna say? So it was so like I don't know where they would I don't know where they would take Annabelle because I mean really they'd have to make up a reason for her to escape again, you know? Because in that particular situation, somebody had to sneak down there, and had to be very snoopy to do it, right? You don't really, there's really not much, they kind of put themselves into a hole there, they contain themselves with their stories because of where Annabelle is, like there's not really much to be able to do.
well, unless you went backwards, because if Annabelle creation is 1958 and Annabelle is 1970,
Mhm.
you could do a story in between there.
You could. It's actually, but like where were they before the nurses? Where were?
Well, yeah, or just do the nurse's story. I mean, just do a total movie on that and make
Wait a
it
minute, I'm so
crazy and
confused though
wild.
now.
And
So wait, was Annabelle in the thing before the nurses?
Annabelle in the thing before the
Well, so before the nurses, we get Annabelle creation and meet, right? Like we get Annabelle creation, and then we get Annabelle, right?
right.
Before the nurses. So wasn't the entity already in Annabelle?
Yeah, because they retconned it. Remember
So
from what they tell us in Annabelle, which was made first, is different than what they tell us in Annabelle creation. Because remember my rant about there being two Annabelles.
right. So I'm so confused. So why is how is Annabelle like because at in Annabelle Comes Home and whatnot, and I think it wasn't Annabelle Comes Home, it was Annabelle, right? They said the nurses said no, it was Conjuring. Conjuring, the nurses said we heard this these knocks and we got rid of the doll, but then she came back and she was in the right after we had let her in to the doll, right?
Yeah.
So in the Conjuring it was set up that she was not that they were the ones who allowed the entity into the doll. Now it's like it doesn't make any sense to have the nurses come back in this story because they didn't. They didn't later. Like
You would just have to retcon it again. Because if you any what it just none of it makes sense with Annabelle. It just doesn't when you try to stick it together. It doesn't work.
yeah, and so yeah, you'd have to make it where it was sometime in between where
Yeah,
I
so it'd have
guess
to be
before
like
she gets the nurses,
yeah,
or
like
you'd have to get the nurses story.
disco Annabelle or something where Annabelle's like, in like the mid 70s or early 80s or something like that that she'd be with some family or whatever
Now,
and
one of the things I did send you a video thing that you couldn't read because it's you were working. But one thing that was cool is like after, well, not cool because of what happened, but after the Warrens had died, there was a there's now a museum, for the Warrens, all the stuff that the Warrens had in their like basement, and everything is now in a museum. It's the Warrens museum, basically. And I don't know if you're allowed to like actually go and look. Probably you can look, but not touch, So, but they have security there all the time to make sure that nobody disturbs the stuff. And there was a rumor going around for a while that Annabelle had left the place, the museum. And the museum guy said, "Look, there's a lot of the guy who owns it said there's a lot of security and we would never want Annabelle to escape anywhere. We would shiver to understand what she would do if she ever left our premises. So in a way, at some point when the Warrens the people playing the Warrens don't want to play them anymore, you know, we'll have the death of the Warrens and then have uh, you know, with them being in a, all the artifacts being in a museum, and Annabelle maybe escapes from there. Like it would have to be a fake, obviously not based on a real story kind of thing.
well you could do a if you want to get to that point of like having them die is you then have a very young Asian director uh get in contact with the Warrens and say, hey, we want to make your movie and so we'd like to get some of your stories. And
Is
then
this
you
our
have
Clerks 3?
yeah, and then you see, very old Lorraine, on the set of The Conjuring, and the film crew is terrorized by by the demon, and
You'd be
you go very meta with it.
you you would hate it because, and I'd have to watch it and review it with you because you'd hate it because they would get all the movie stuff wrong, the making of the movie
I
stuff wrong.
hate
And
that.
you'd
I
be
really
like,
do.
why did they do that? That's not how you make a movie. They should know how to make a movie. They're making a movie. Like, that's the stuff
I'm sorry.
that
I don't
frustrates you.
believe that Dante in Clerks 3 has no idea what crowdfunding is. I mean, it's like, do not watch TV or the internet or anything. I mean, come on. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
And his like, his way of just asking his ex fiance to give him the money is like the cheapest, easiest way to bring, was it Kevin Smith's wife back, but
yeah,
also to give them something where they're like, okay, well, we've got this. Oh, didn't she make some money? Can she help us? Yeah, just I
yeah.
don't know. That's
It's like, what's that show, Love, that
I
came
like
out?
love.
The
Don't
thing
beat
that
this
really,
on love.
no, the thing, oh my God, that show frustrated me so much. It's like when he decides to make his movie and he spends something like $20,000 on film equipment and everything, and at least they acknowledge it, that the guy goes, dude, seriously, you spent like $20,000. It might have been 10,000, but it was some horrible amount of money. And he's like, you spend your money on this? He's like, yeah, why? And it's just like, my God, you're in the film industry. You don't know that you could just go look on YouTube and find like 1,000 videos where it's like, get a whole film studio for $1,000. Like that type
Yeah.
of stuff just annoys the shit out of me, and I'm glad that they acknowledged it. But
Yeah.
it was just like, God, it comes, wow, it's like, I hate when they do stuff like that. So,
I'm sorry. I have a soft spot for all Judd Apatow productions, period. Except never watched Girls, but I tried and I was like, yeah, I didn't do it.
oh God, I never want to watch
Yeah.
Girls.
Yeah.
So
But I
preachy.
love Judd Apatow though. Like I love when he produces stuff. So
Oh, I'm a big fan. So yeah,
yeah. You know, he hasn't done horror yet. I wonder if he'll ever do horror. That'd be an interesting. Judd Apatow. It'd have to be comedy horror, but horror comedy. But he could do it. I would
well, yeah,
watch a
who knows?
horror
Yeah,
comedy produced by Judd Apatow and starring like Seth Rogen and well, if it's a horror film, I'll start. Was it the? Oh, he no, he didn't produce it though. Fuck, he didn't produce
this is
the
the
This is
end.
the End. No, he didn't produce it,
No,
but all those guys worked on it and everything.
yeah,
Even
that's a great
James
film too.
Franco.
So
Um.
yeah.
So yeah. So that's I don't know. Is there much else that we?
Well, some of the stuff that I did like in this, like I mentioned, the babysitter, I like that she was really cool. I
She's
like that a
cute too,
lot.
but I'm
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The one you call the annoying one, the one you hated. I love her. She's my favorite.
Oh,
Always will
she's,
be.
yeah, she's attractive, and but I just didn't. I thought that she was just very
Oh no, not
scummy.
just because
Just,
she's attractive. I liked her personality.
oh
So,
God, oh
yeah. Like I said,
God.
she would have been
But
the type of girl I would have gone. I wouldn't have gone for the really sweet blonde hair girl, even though blonde is my favorite color for girls. I'm a blonde guy myself, but I would have loved the other girl because she would have had more of like the spunky sort of like I'm gonna, scrappy kind of personality that I
get you
like.
arrested type of thing. I mean,
Yeah,
they even
I like
mentioned something like
troublemakers.
that.
I like
Oh God.
troublemakers. I don't know. Not that I want to change them. I think sometimes I get into it because I like drama. 'Cause my life is so
Okay.
boring. You know,
Well, oh geez. So one of the other things I liked is I like the time travel stuff.
time travels.
Yeah, like the stuff on the TV
What?
where she's in the artifact room and there's the old TV there,
Yes,
and
yeah,
she would look this way while the other person would look that way, or the person in the TV would be yelling at her and she can't hear him, and it would be kind of doing this time loop in a way.
yeah.
I
Well,
wish actually they did a
yeah.
little more of that. I like that. I thought that was kind of cool.
I know. I was interested about that TV. Like, what was that TV? like who owned that TV? How did that TV come to be a part of the Warrens thing? Maybe they'll like maybe they're thinking that could be a spinoff somewhere, you know.
I mean,
But you
it's
want to watch that.
possible. I mean, especially with all the Amityville stuff out there where it's cursed objects. But from what they said on the behind the scenes, is all that stuff is from yard sales, um, like junk stores, Goodwill. They just went and found cool stuff to put down there that it's
Um,
and
but
I think the it's the son-in-law of the daughter of the actual Warrens said that it was a good like representation of what their artifact room looked like,
right,
even though it's not the same.
right.
So
That monkey was creepy. I have one of those things, so
that's controlled. That was mechanically controlled. They had a guy controlling its hands and its mouth and its eyes and all that.
nice.
Yeah, it wasn't just a wind up thing and they filmed it. Is they actually built that
Well, that's and then
just for those
the
couple scenes.
typewriter was cool. It kept saying "miss
Yeah,
me." She was typing on it saying "miss me," which I was like getting Shining vibes from that.
yeah,
Um,
and that's a little connection back to, I guess, Annabelle and Annabelle creation.
yeah,
The whole
and then uh, obviously the other cool part of the artifact room was the locket, which I was like thinking, how does she know to put the picture in the locket and close
see,
it and
that's what
see?
I'm saying. For somebody who had no idea what the Warrens did for a living, she sure knew stuff.
She sure knew how to do that stuff like just automatically, and I guess did it work? Because her father did come and when she was like on the piano, which I was like, that piano didn't seem very cursed. Like I was expecting the things to move on its own or something, or whatever. I don't know what the piano was there for. But she was on the
Just a
piano, and then
cursed piano, yeah.
the father started playing with her, and then he was like, "Oh, I hate you. You killed me." And it wasn't really her father, I guess. It was a spirit inside the
Yeah, because
room.
somebody, yeah, because maybe because she took out the picture and then whatever evil's there saw the father and could
Yeah, I
imitate
saw the
it.
picture of the father and decided
Yeah.
to play with her or whatever. Really fucking.
Do
Uh,
you do you think the werewolf was kind of out of place? Like,
I just think it was weird, because it was literally just there so that Bob could save Judy at one point so that he could look like some sort of hero, you know. I was sorry though. I was like, they have chickens, and at one point I was like, if one of those chickens dies, I'm gonna hate this movie. I'm an animal lover, and so like I
but
don't
it was off
care how
screen
many.
though. It was off
Yeah, it was off
screen.
screen, but still, wasn't a big fan of that shit. I don't like when animals die. I don't care if the humans die because they're getting paid. These fucking
Well, the
animals.
chicken didn't really die. I mean,
Right. No, I know. Well, maybe it did because maybe they make chicken stuff out of it afterwards. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they make chicken after it, but who knows?
they make chicken out of a chicken.
They make chicken out of chicken. They take the chicken and make chicken. Yum yum. At least, which one came first, the chicken or the egg?
That is a great mystery.
No, it's not a mystery.
What do you
It's
mean
the
it's not
egg.
a mystery?
It's the egg.
How do you know?
Because an egg had to come first to make the chicken.
But then the chicken had to lay the egg.
Yeah, later, you're right. I don't know. Maybe something had to come first in Soul Universe. Yeah. But anywho, going back to the movie. It did have chickens. Like it was cool that the fucking Warrens apparently had chicken. I don't know if that was a real thing or if that was just made for the movie. Um, to give him a place to go to, when he had to escape from the werewolf. But you know, that werewolf looked really creepy. I'm not gonna lie, but
Oh, it's a good looking werewolf. In the behind the scenes, they show it like in the studio, and the guy's like displaying it, and he's like putting his hands up and walking around, and it's actually a great werewolf suit.
Yeah.
Looks really good.
It's just, I mean, it is weird to have in a ghost story, where it's a ghost werewolf, you know.
Well, yeah, because they mentioned in the behind the scenes, like the stuff with the babysitter, like they said, like the ghosts went off their fears or something, which I didn't get.
I didn't get
And
that either.
yeah, and they talk about like the babysitter, like she's worried about growing old. And I'm like, I didn't get that either.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, because a lot of the times in these things is they do, that like the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff is, especially part four, the one girl hates cockroaches, so she becomes one. The other girl wants the nose job, and then he goes after her nose.
Got your nose.
Got your nose. But this one, I can't imagine that Bob's greatest fear is a werewolf or a hellhound.
I mean, maybe it wasn't. But would that does that mean like because one of them's was it a woman with a wedding gown? One of them afraid of
Yeah,
weddings or something? I
the
mean,
bloody bride is what she was called, and then of course she puked inside the friend's mouth, and then she became the bride.
until oh man, that actually I love my favorite scene probably in the movie was when the she was the possessed, bride or whatever, and then they turned on the uh was it the video thing or whatever,
The
the the,
projector.
the, the projector, and it had him doing the exorcism, so he was saying everything that's the exorcism. She it performed the exorcism by doing video, which I think is fucking brilliant. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen that happen before, where somebody just turned on a projector, somebody's doing an exorcism, and then the person actually becomes exorcised yeah, by it. I
Well,
think that was cool.
but how annoying was that when they're in the office and the friend just goes, "What's this?" and turns on the projector,
Yeah.
and the babysitter's like, "Stop it!" It's like, "What's it? Stop touching it. Why do you have to turn it on?" Maybe at that point, like Ed was watching it, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go have lunch." He turns it off, and then he's gonna come back, and then like days later, like he's gonna turn it on. He's like, "Wait a minute, I didn't leave it at this spot. Was somebody in my office?"
Well, of course they know now what happened, or
Yeah, afterwards. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they
So
found out that let motherfucking Annabelle loose, man. And it goes back to them saying that Annabelle was a beacon for other spirits because like she was kind of the one that was controlling all these different spirits to get out and free and do cause math chaos,
yeah.
and
Oh,
everything.
the ferryman was the other one. So you had the demon, the ferryman, the bride, bloody bride,
Which
and then
one was
of
the
course
ferryman?
he had the cloak and he had the coins in his eyes.
Okay. What about the priest? The random priest that you see in the beginning of the movie, like with
They need to make a movie after that called The Priest and tell his story. But
I think the guy said that on the cinema sins or
Cinema
whatever
Sins,
too.
yeah,
Said
he's like, if
that
they make a
and
goddamn movie out of this,
yeah, which I laughed about that because really like it's true that this does feel like this would be a that they've already have the nun. Why not do the priest? And
yeah,
then
then
do
you can have them
this
in the same movie together.
the nun
Nun versus
and
priest,
the
and like
nun
the
versus the
priest.
priest.
Yeah, the priest background is that he was like a like he was abusing children down in the basement or something.
Well, I
And of
mean,
course,
what were
he
they trying?
dies.
What were they trying to say? Like, what was the point of this priest guy? Because was it that
Is
Judy
that
could see him or something?
yeah, that she has the same like power as her mom.
Well, she doesn't in real life, as far as I know. She doesn't.
Well, that's why none of this is real.
Yeah,
Even real life stuff isn't real.
yeah. I don't think Lorraine Warren had the gift of being a medium. I don't think, right? Like she couldn't.
No, I think she said that she did is the Amityville. If you watch the footage of the real Amityville horror stuff with her in it, she's the one doing like the seance and everything.
Okay, so she has the ability to actually talk or whatever to ghosts. Um, she's able to see that. I mean, so I don't think, yeah, I don't think Judy really had that ability or whatever. I think obviously that was just made for the movie because, if you're gonna make her kind of a big part of it. What did you think of McKenna Grace? Did you like her?
I thought they were all fine. I have nothing against the actors in this at all. I thought that they were all fine. It was just
Even
the
Bob?
Bob I thought was fine. He was kind of had that little John Cusack thing
I,
going there with
I
trying to.
hated that whole Bob's got balls stuff. Like just that stuff felt like they were just trying to get a new saying that people would say in schools, like, remember when that movie that Bob's got balls, like
Yeah, yeah. It did. I didn't think that it was necessary because nothing really comes of it. I mean,
right. Well,
so
I mean, he had a lot of guts to go up there and chat with her, do all the,
well, because he listened to the pizza guy. The pizza
he
guy said,
did, but
"You gotta
before then he
woo
went
her,
up to the
man."
house. He went up to the house
Yeah,
to you know say hello
and
because the other
screw that.
girl said that she liked them, so he was like, sure.
That I liked because that's like a typical teenager. I like that.
Right, and I
So
also like the fact that the girl was afraid to say anything. Was afraid that the guy, right? Because I remember in high school, like that was the big thing of like the girls were too shy to say something to the guy that they actually liked, and so the guys sometimes never knew because they just thought they were friendly or whatever. And then the one girl just looks over and goes, "She likes you," or whatever,
yeah, I thought that was
Daniela.
fun. Yeah.
And I thought that was cute because that, and that's another reason why I like the girl is because she was helping her friend out, or whatever in a way, even though,
Well,
you know,
until she let out an evil spirit. I
yeah.
mean, you know.
Well,
But
she
I got to tell you, man, screw that pizza guy. He ate a piece of pizza out of that, and then he still got a tip.
got a good tip too, apparently. He was
Screw
very
that
happy
guy.
that
Yeah,
he
what the
should not
fuck,
have,
man.
but he also told her after she had already given the tip, that he stole the pizza, so he ate one of the pizzas. So
Yeah, what
I
is he, an
think,
Uber driver? They just eat
mm,
the freaking food, like the French fries. I've
was
heard about
Uber
stuff
Eats.
like that.
They didn't have that back then, though. They had real
Maybe
pizza
he
delivery
might have been the
drivers.
first. You know, he might have been the
Maybe.
first guy to do it because he's eating out of the pizza boxes.
No. Sounds like Stranger Things or something. Wasn't there a pizza guy? That I don't know if you've watched that show or not or whatever, but that last season, that there was a stoner guy that just drove me nuts. I was like, I
No,
hope he
I
dies in the first couple
no,
episodes.
I watched it. I've seen all the seasons. Yeah, I don't like him. I think you and I even had a conversation about it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and everybody else is, how do you not like that guy? He's so great.
because
I'm like,
he's
he is
freaking
so
annoying.
annoying. He's annoying. I wanted him dead. But of course he doesn't live because everybody fell in love with him, you know.
Oh,
But
well, thank God this is the last season is coming up. So
everybody thought this was gonna be the last season, and stuff.
it's what
So
I've read.
no, so this will hopefully be the last season because I want those guys to go into the movies and stuff because they're really talented.
Oh
And
God, I don't. I so
the
don't.
Duffer Brothers.
Them. Well, I mean, they're okay. They're fine, but the actors I can live without. So I don't
Well, you
think
see
that
the
you
actors so much now and stuff like that. The
I
Finn
mean,
guy was in like
it,
it and
Ghostbusters,
Ghostbusters. He's all over
Godzilla. I mean,
Godzilla with the girl and stuff, and
it's
you
like
know,
just because you're in Stranger Things, I don't need to see you in like every big budget horror movie. So it's like,
yeah, the girl who plays 11. After a while, I'm like, I don't care about you.
yeah.
Like, I don't even care about you on the show anymore. Like I feel like a lot of them have like overstayed their welcome, But I'll still watch because I'm one of those people that I can't just like leave it at that. Like they left it at a cliffhanger. I gotta know what the fuck is
No,
gonna
I'll
happen.
watch it. I mean, yeah, I'll finish it off. So, well, okay. So back to Annabelle. So now that we're through the three films, how would you rank them?
Rank them. Okay, well before then, let's go into our rating, and then we'll do the ranking. Then
Okay.
after our rating, because I don't want to kind of spoil what I'm going to possibly give this, or whatever.
Okay.
Um, so this honestly was probably my favorite Annabelle movie. You know, weirdly enough, I liked it a little bit more than like Creation. I definitely liked it better than Annabelle itself. I also really like Gary Dauberman as a director. I thought he did a pretty damn good job for, I think this was his first movie, like, he finally got the chance to direct it and he wrote all of them. So like it makes sense, that they would let him direct it. And I thought he did a great job. So I'm gonna give this a 4-star rating. Um, what about you?
I'll give it three.
So it wasn't your favorite then? I'm guessing Creation was your favorite.
Well, so if we're gonna rank them, I would say Creation, this, and then Annabelle.
So it comes home, then Creation, then Annabelle. That's how I'd rank it. Even though all of them are all like completely different fucking retcons and shit. Like they're all over the map.
Oh
You
yeah.
could not watch all three of these movies in a row. Like and it make any fucking sense,
No, no, it,
like
it it really doesn't, and they don't try to hide it. It just.
yeah.
Oh, did you spot the Aquaman Easter egg in
No, I
in
did
the in
not.
the
What was
relic
that?
room? It's they called it a key, that it's like the key to the city, I guess, in Aquaman, but it's big. It almost kind of looks like a thermos or something. It's a big thing. And the guy was walking around the relic room and he goes, "Oh, see this? This is an Easter egg. It's the key from Aquaman."
Uh-huh.
And it's large. It kind of looks like a really big bullet or something like
Oh,
that. So I never spotted it. I mean, I
they should have used that for the key that they end up, when they had to unlock that door or whatever, and they had to, but I guess they had to use the that one little key plastic thing to say like for her to play the game, that one weird game where you put your hand in the
yeah,
thing or
I
something.
remember that type of stuff. Yeah, that wasn't the name of the game, but I do remember it. There was
I
like
don't remember what the name of the
gel
game was.
yeah, there's like Jello in there and cottage cheese and some other stuff. There's like you put your hand in, it's like ew, you know.
That's weird. All right.
Yeah.
People had to make up some weird ass games back then because board games because everyone's bored. Um, back then, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
and it's a possessed game because it was in the relic room and then it magically appeared with the other games out in the living room.
but Judy gets the key pretty fucking quick. You
Well, her
know,
hand is tiny, so it could just kind of go got the key.
yeah. The babysitter wanted to do it herself, or whatever. She didn't want, I guess, Judy losing an arm or something. She'd rather her to lose the arm,
Well,
than
I almost thought with Judy that I'm like, okay, so I looked up her age and I'm like, well, what if they ended all the stuff with Warrens and like the daughter took over? And it would be like the daughter and maybe like a husband and like she now has a kid. And the Judy in real life, she's only like 16 or 17. And I'm like,
right,
oh, okay, that doesn't work. If she, if you kind of want to do like what Tarantino wants to do with Kill Bill, with
right.
having the daughter come back as an adult, you'd have to wait like 15 years or something to do it, use the same actress. But
Hmm.
it's like, well, I don't know, if you wanted to use the same actress as the daughter, but she's grown up. Yeah, I mean, she's only like 16 or 17 now.
Yeah, she's only
So
16 now.
yeah, so it doesn't work, unless you
Yeah.
wanted to have her as a teenager. But no, you'd have to wait like another close to 10 years if you wanted to use the same actress.
I mean, maybe not as an adult, but they could have her still be a teenager and do another one as a Judy's story. Because I think McKenna with the Ghostbusters stuff and things like that is sort of she's getting herself out there more, like she's becoming a bigger star. And I really hope she continues to do that because I dug her in this, like all three of them, as you said, they were good. They were good actors.
I
And
thought
they
everybody did a fine job. Yeah, it
yeah.
was fine.
And it was yeah, I think it was sort of a fun, enjoyable movie. And like I said, it's my favorite just because I think it was because I don't know, I was interested more, Like Annabelle itself was sort of like, I don't know, it was your typical haunted house thing, This at least there was more spirits, more stuff going on because of the artifact room. And I think that's what it interested me. It wasn't just Annabelle fucking with everybody. Exactly, like herself, and that's it. She was the
Right.
beacon of spirits, which that was never a thing before, though, right? Like Annabelle 1 didn't have all of these different spirits start coming, you know.
Yeah, I think it was originally like the spirit, the demon thing is in Annabelle. Then that
Right,
turned into it was around Annabelle, which then turned into her being a conduit. So it's more retconning, unless the doll isn't, because then it doesn't really make much sense with the demon being in the glass box.
right,
Because if we're seeing Annabelle kind of floating around like we have, then that means that the demon is holding the doll and just moving it from the chair to
right.
the bed,
You talked
which
about that on
means,
one of the other ones.
yeah, which means that the doll really isn't possessed. Because then that means the demon could just walk up
Well,
to
no, the
anything.
doll's not possessed because I said dolls can't be possessed. There's only spirit humans can be possessed. That doll is just an entity, for it. It's a conduit or something, or whatever.
Yeah,
It's a placement holder
I
until
don't
he
know.
can actually get into the soul of somebody else and take over there. That would be an interesting story, is like Annabelle actually possessing another person again, like and going, like, you ever seen that movie Fallen, with
Yeah, with
Denzel
Denzel
Washington,
Washington. Yeah, it's a
where
good film.
like the demon just goes from person to person. You really don't know who the person is after a while. Like that
Right.
would be sort of a cool Annabelle story. It's like maybe that's the story we get before Annabelle comes home, or whatever, is like she's going person to person through the doll, and everything, like going to taking souls, from here to wherever, you know.
And Annabelle
Um,
Goes to Hell.
Annabelle goes to hell, the final Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's in like the like all the dirt, and then you just see like the demon claw come up and like grab Annabelle and drag her down to hell.
The demon what?
Like the demon hand pops up,
Yeah, I was
just
thinking more of
pulls
the
her down.
werewolf. The werewolf's like, fuck you, come down here.
Werewolf. That's a tortured soul, though.
I don't know. Is it? Isn't it tortured
It's
soul?
supposed to mean, according to most werewolf lore, especially Lon Chaney Jr.
I
He was a
know, but he
tortured
didn't
soul.
seem that tortured. He just seemed like a nasty looking guy in this one. I don't know. Anyway, I think we've talked enough about this movie,
Yeah,
but
we both liked it, but you liked it more than me. But
I liked it more
yeah,
than you.
it's still worth
I
it. Yeah.
think I think it's gonna happen every now and then because usually I'm the one who doesn't like it as much as you do. But there's certain ones.
Well,
Also, you told me before you didn't like this one, like I think or something like that was sort of.
no, I like it. It's just the friend just annoys the shit out of me. So
You just
with
don't
the
like,
touching,
yeah, you just don't like touching stuff.
yeah.
I'm just glad nobody should go over to your house and just start touching everything. You know.
No. If I do have friends come over to my place, and I don't do it a lot because I don't want them touching my stuff. It's like, this is here for a reason. This is here for a reason. This is here for a reason. And
Yeah,
and
it
and
has
if I,
signs all over the place. Positively, do not touch.
yeah, because I mean, if I have something that's like this and a friend moves it like that, when they leave, I have to put it back like that, because that's how I want it. That's how I have it. It's like almost like, I don't know, some sort of OCD or something like that. I don't know. It's just
I have a little
everything
bit of
as it's.
OCD, but not really. Like I'm not a neat person per se, you know. I did make my room a little better because it was a pigsty and it needed to be fucking cleaned. But and I wanted to put up my new TV. So but I don't generally like I'm not very I don't have the traits of like always cleaning up after, like I do something I don't, do that. I don't. And maybe it's something you have to learn. I don't know, but it's just wasn't hasn't been very easy on me. I have to force myself to be like that, and whatnot. But I'm a very organized person. Like when I'm doing movie stuff, I organize everything, a lot better. It's just I'm not organized at my house. And so if somebody touches something in mine, I don't usually care because I don't even realize. If I didn't see them touch it, I would not know it was touched.
Ugh. Look how neat those boxes are back there. I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah.
so
You're a lot neater than I am with that stuff. You know.
so
I mean, your DVD case looks amazing. The
it's
bookcase looks
actually even it's actually in order.
right. I did that, and now my bookcase is like completely fucked over with Blu-rays everywhere and shit. And I'm like, oh God, eventually I'm gonna have to go back and put them in the order, and stuff. But yeah, I'm just right now, I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Even if people come in and say, "Oh my God, that looks like a mess," I'll be like, "Yeah, it does. Okay."
All right, well there. Okay, well there we go. So
you know,
you organized this video, this
I
Annabelle Comes Home
organize
video.
the
To go
podcast
back to
very
Annabelle.
well. Usually pretty good at that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm good at some organization. Not good at like keeping my room clean.
Well, I understand you're 13 and
I
and
am. I'm like
you
13
know.
going on 41. But whatever. Don't judge me. Um,
Oh, I judge all the time.
don't judge me.
I'm the
Stop it.
judgeinator.
No. Judge not, but ye be judged yourself.
Oh, I don't care if people judge me because I judge them. So, but we're way off topic on this. So, are we wrapping this up? Are
We're
we done?
wrapped. We're wrapped pretty much. So
All right.
thank you guys for checking this out. Join us next week. We'll be doing a Conjuring 2. You know.
No, 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 no. We won't.
Oh no, we will not. We'll be doing the one I fucking
The
turned
Curse of La
off.
La Roma.
The Curse of La Llorona, the only movie so far of the Conjuring universe that I actually turned off because I could not stand it. Even though I
I like.
love the main girl, Linda Cardellini, biggest crush on her since Freaks and Geeks. Oh, but I don't know, man. This is gonna be rough. I don't know. That I'm gonna watch it though.
I liked it. So hey, this will be my second time watching it. So
So we'll see. We'll see if it holds up a second time
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
And if it holds up a second, if it's better the second time for me, then we'll see. All right, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this and talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.
Bye, bye.